improve our lives and ourselves. Since 2006, that's a long way back. Never ever have I ever had guests on That's My Opinion. Never. I have never had guests on my opinion. It's always my opinion. Folks, for those of you who tuned in last week, I came up with a topic where, I was really concerned and I was really hurt that, if a little child, through no fault of his, gets molested, abused, has to get justice. The procedure is that, doctors should certify that, yes, this child has been abused. Now, if this child turns up at the hospital, they are seen as an outpatient with regular fees. The doctor, will charge regular fees. Now, Ghana is not Accra, folks. Ghana is not Accra. Sometimes when you're in Accra, there's certain amounts of money when it's mentioned, you say, Nana, this one too. But 300 Ghana cedis. Even in Accra, sometimes can be a challenge. Even in Accra. So once you get out of Accra, 300 Ghana cedis. I mean, do you know what it qualifies for somebody to be on a LEAP program? It means the whole year they've only had 50 pesos. I mean, that's the assessment. And then the whole year, all the money they've earned is 50 pesos. And they say 5,000 cedis. And you think, oh, wow, 5,000. No, 50 pesos. And then they put them on a LEAP program. So if a child from a LEAP program, gets abused and they have to come up with 300 cedis, they then decide that, look, let's just sort it. And many children go through this on a daily basis. And I feel that it's wrong. I know you listening out there also know it's wrong. Even though as Ghanaians we are not, brought up and trained to reach out to the have-nots. We are brought up to be a bit, well, I'm okay, my dream, I don't want to go and, disturb anybody. I'm thinking of myself. But I think on this occasion, even if you can pay that 300 cedis, you and I, so-called middle class, should unite and say that no, as a state, it is not right. But folks, until the lions have their own historians, the tales of hunting would always glorify the hunter. And I'll say that again. I said until the lions have their own historians, the tales of hunting would always glorify the hunter. Well, hello and welcome to the most opinionated hour on radio, but today is not my opinions. Well, the most high-powered paneled show this evening. I am Nana Ansah Kwao, the chief of the Little Republic of Akwamu Edumasa. Welcome to the show that I call That's My Opinion. I don't know if I can call it That's My Opinion today. Let me put it on record too that, last week if you listened to me, this incident happened in Edumasa. They went to the hospital, they needed 300 cedis, and so they quit. And as I was following up on the case, I realized that, this is what had happened. So I called my good friend, lawyer Martin Pebu, who said, no, that's not the case. And, so after the conversation, he gave us 1,000 cedis to be given to the family to look after, this little girl, which he became a hero overnight. He's already a hero. But I must say congratulations to VRA, because eventually, when they went back, they said no, they won't take the money. So VRA also did not take the money, which is also, I think, commendable. So all we are saying is that if other people too could get this, can you imagine how equitable and how fair this will be? So VRA did not take the money, so we want to thank VRA for not taking the money. We want to thank Lawyer Martin Pebu for that wonderful gesture. But as you know, the time is short. Sorry, and it's today not going to be just my opinion, but the opinion of three great ones here. Now with me in the studio is Dr. Titus Bio, and I hope you've met him. He's a very flamboyant and very charismatic doctor, honestly, and doesn't want to be called Titus. Titus is silent, still Titus, please. You have to be Dr. Titus Bio. Titus is a siding in Biawa. He's earned his medical degree. So Dr. Titus Bio is here, and he's Assistant General Secretary for the GMA, Ghana Medical Association. So because last year they actually reviewed their fees. They reviewed their fees last year. Then we'll just almost say I feel the Uprana bar Joe too. I'm sure when the budget went up or when the dollar went up, they decided, well, that's it. With me here too is lawyer Martin Pebu, who's I'll call him a legal activist. Martin Pebu has won several landmark cases for your justice. And guess what? When some crime history. Now check this out. So lawyers is the one that took the state to court to say that, listen, a defiled child should not be asked to pay for their own money. And so when I asked the police that I hope you are still holding the guy, when he got arrested, they said, oh no, now there's no bailable offense. I'm saying, oh no, the same lawyer Martin Pebu who took the state to court to say that, the state should pay for that child is the same person who took the state to court to say there's no such thing as a no bailable offense. So the guy got his bail. So I think they were doing that. And then another individual who must be in this conversation is Chief Superintendent Owusu Acheme, Director of DOFSU. Can you imagine? These are the people. I think we should have kept Nana Ansah here, even though she's former. We should have really kept her here. But she escaped. I'm sure she's tuned in. She escaped. I'm sure she's tuned in. But I want to start with Doctor. One of the things that really hurt me was the coldness of some of the doctors. It was as if, you don't have to attach any human feelings to it. This is a person who's come to the hospital with a condition and therefore must be treated. And I was thinking, hold on, a child defiled there. It can't just be malaria. But, the doctor who I was speaking to said, well, it's just like a child who's come with HIV, cancer. It's like he's coming with a condition. So just pay and get your treatment. It didn't sit well with me. To the point I asked this doctor, is there anything lower than a defiled child? She says, yes, a dead child. I said, child is dead. He says, yeah, but the child is dead. The parents are going through hardship, but they still have to pay to collect the body. I said, you're telling me it's the same as what the living child is going to go through? So, this was what happened. So I'll just leave it with you, Doctor. What's going on? Why 300 Ghana cedis?
Okay. Good evening, Nana, and good evening to lawyer and then police officer, as well as to our listeners.
Who's also a lawyer?
Yes. In fact, I just picked up that information that it looks like the legal brains have been set up against me. We have two lawyers against a doctor, but I believe Nana will be on my side. So
I will have to.
All right. I think the story narrated is a very sad one that should not be supported in any way. I don't think. When I heard it, my first instinct was that perhaps they did not know the full history of the patient. You see, it is not uncommon to attend to patients without knowing their social history, without knowing their background, and sometimes some patients are even themselves afraid to disclose things. And you may ask questions and they may not talk, because we all do pro bono services, and a lot of doctors sacrifice money to take care of patients. We actually pay for patient bills, and I have colleagues in the district who have even taken blood for it to be donated to patients. So this is the extent to which doctors can go to sacrifice. So I think this particular case, unless one is fully apprised with the content of the case, it will be difficult to make a pronouncement. But if it is as it is put, I think that is a very sad one. That is all I can say for now. I don't think under any circumstance a child defiled who is from a very poor background, who cannot afford their bills, should be restrained, or let's say prevented from getting justice by refusal of them to sign a police form. Just as you said, you stated, when they went back And I think when the full facts have come out, they've actually decided to do it for free. And a lot of us do that. But why the fees? I'm sure when we get there, I will give some other information. But if I have to give my initial remarks on why the GMA had to come out with fees, I think all lawyers here would agree that every professional grouping have professional charges. Again, the purpose of these charges is to sanitize the system. Prior to this, I'm sure if GMA did not come out with this, and I looked at our scale of fees that we gave, you realize that it's on the lower margin of the fee that was charged. Our range for police forms is actually from 300 cedis to 800 cedis. They took because we have spoken to our members. Because prior to that, people were charging anything, and there was no uniformity. There was no standards, and the police form that is in use now is a very old police form which state 2 cedis something pesos. I don't have it exactly in mind. The lawyers might remind us of that, which in modern day term is unrealistic. And therefore, people were charging all sorts of fees, and the association thought we needed to sanitize the system. Again, when it comes to police forms in particular, no patient is to be denied service because of police form. The primary duty of the doctor is to care for the patient. We see the police form, the search for justice, as a secondary issue. So if you come in, you are hurt, this patient who was defiled is exposed to sexually transmitted infections, psychological trauma, those should be the primary concern of the doctor. After that is sorted out and they want to pursue the justice through our justice system, then that comes in. And for that first part, I don't think any doctor would deny anybody that service in any facility. But when it comes to the payment of police forms, it depends on what the need is. Because if somebody is assaulted, the person wants to go and pursue, or somebody is taking a case to court that needs a medical report, it's a professional service the doctor is offering. And it is the considered view of the GMA that for that professional service, the doctor should be remunerated for it. And we brought out a range to guide or guide practitioners in that light. Okay.
So I'll come to Chief Superintendent Owusu, Director for DOPSU. You see, we're listening to the doctor, and he's saying that they won't refuse. But speaking to DOPSU in Akosombo, they've gotten to the point where if they really assess the victim and they know that this victim, Charlie, hasn't got 300, in case, let's say, we come to the police station and say, you need to police station. Well, if you don't have 3 cedis or 7 cedis to take trotro to the station, then please don't come, because when we get to the hospital, it's 300 cedis. So they have literally stopped. And it looks as if it's a trend going on. But then I'll leave it to Chief. I mean, you hear reports, so let's hear from you.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening to panel members here, Nana, and then to your listeners. The issue of fees, I mean, doctors taking money before endorsing police medical form has always been an issue for us police. It's not a question of whether the person can pay or not pay. It's a question of, is it the right thing for us to do? Is it in the best interest of justice for victims to pay for medical forms, the endorsement of medical forms? You see, when victims are asked to pay for medical forms, it affects the justice system because, one, it becomes an imaginary roadblock in pursuing justice. What happens then is that if, let's say it's a deferment case, the person reports the case to police, and as part of the investigations, there's a need for a medical form. The victim is directed to the hospital or is taken to the hospital, but at the end of the day, the doctor will have to sign a medical form, endorse it, and it's the endorsement that brings about the issue. Now, when we get to that point, 2 things happen. Either the victim will have to go and look for money somewhere else, and unfortunately, sometimes they end up going to the suspect. If the suspect has not been arrested, or they have access to the suspect in any way, they'll go to the suspect and negotiate. And then the suspect will say, okay, instead of like the 300, I can give you 300 and more on condition that you don't pursue the case. And so in that regard, people will take the money and not even go back to the doctor for the endorsement of the form, and then they will frustrate the police. They will not come back again. And then sometimes too, because if they are not able to go back to the suspect, or the suspect hasn't got the money, then what happens is that they don't come at all. Then we have to rely on NGOs, just like you relied on council senior to pay for it. Then we have to be going around asking for such help. If the incident happened to be in Accra, then good for us. We go to police hospital, and then Dr. Boama is there. He will endorse the form for us, examine the patient and then victim, and then endorse the form for us. If it is Kwao IV, we have Dr. Badu. Yes, he's also a very good doctor that helps us a lot in these cases. So in general, the issue of taking money before endorsement really affects prosecutions of our case or investigation of our cases. So.
Well, the state versus Martin Pegbu. The Attorney General versus Martin Pegbu. So lawyer Martin Pegbu literally took Ghana to court to say that, listen, you can't do this. Lawyer, so what did you take to court and what was the outcome?
Okay, great. So Nana, I was compelled, by the circumstances, having been exposed to situations in which a victim to be specific, could not access medical care, because the victim didn't have sufficient money, and as such, the victim didn't get justice. That was what moved me. And indeed, even prior to going to court, the police themselves had come out with a newspaper publication. There was a story in the Daily Graphic that majority of the cases that they encountered, that's domestic violence, were such that whenever they gave out the medical form to the victims, those medical forms never got returned. That is to say, the victims never came back. So I was like, wow, how can we sit down as a nation and allow this to continue? For crying out loud, we are middle income. You say, yeah. So that's the basic motivation. And indeed, will it surprise you when we got to court? The judge had also experienced the same thing.
Wow.
Yeah, he had also seen such a situation. So he was like, wow, why don't we just get this fund operationalized? Because by law, so the first thing, Nana, is that the law says that victims of domestic violence are entitled to free medical care.
Wow.
The victims are entitled to free medical care. Now, so having done this in 2007, the question is that why? And also in 2018, we passed 2016, we passed an LI to operationalize the act. And we went on and on about the free medical care. So if, let's say, even we were to say that at the time we passed this in 2007, it was a mistake, in 2016, LI 2237, we repeated that we want to provide free medical care. So they've designed forms, compensation and all that. So it tells you that Parliament knew what it was doing. So it's not a fluke. It's not a fluke. 2016, we have an LI 2237, and yet we are not implementing the law as much as we should. So the truth of the matter is, as it stands now, there's a bit of money in the funds. The last time we went to the presidency, sometime in August last year, 2019, we got an update that there's 30-something thousand in the fund. But that's woefully inadequate. I'm talking about the Victims of Domestic Violence Fund. Yes, it has so many uses. I'm sure we'll come to that, so I'll not go deeper than that. But the point is that as of that time, there was just about 30-something thousand in it. And they are not actively disbursing. By this LI, it is envisaged that each victim of domestic violence will get compensation. That's the essence of this LI. So where you have 30-something thousand in a fund in a country that's about 30 million, then you know that we really must be joking. And you see, to add, when we went to the presidency last year in August, the president was concerned. There and there, at a point, he even said, look, he could give some money from the presidency. But later in the course of the meeting, the meeting was organized by the Domestic Violence Coalition. being led by Mr. Adolf Ewuku. And then you have Angela Dramina, of course, they are the seniors, and several other seniors. We are latter days. We are just kids. The real seniors are there, okay? Yeah, so the seniors got a meeting with the president, and then we got to be on this delegation. You say, so it was decided that, okay, the gender advisor to the president, Dr. Angela Asante, should coordinate, because they said some of the oil companies, the international oil companies, those in the upstream sector, were interested in funding. So it all looked good. That was in August, Nana. As we sit now,
Kebashi,
now the coalition. So the next thing we heard was that Dr. Asante had been asked to hand over to the gender minister. So as we sit now, the coalition is now writing letters again to go to the gender minister. So it's like we take 2 steps forward, then we take 5 backwards. I mean, it's not good. It's not good as a nation. Look, we should be ashamed of ourselves that we are doing this for ourselves. I mean, go to the ministries and see the V8 parked there in Accra. V8 on the public place, driving V8 in Accra. So much fuel, so much cost, and some are even fresh. I mean, no. Look, I think that we must be bold. We must be decisive. The citizens must call out these persons who are not doing it right. That look, we want the fund up now. We must get the fund properly operationalized now. It's long overdue.
Yeah.
We can't continue doing it this way.
Well, I, was going to push this one forward, but I thought, no, being that we've just come out of our 63rd birthday and it's Women's Day, I mean, these are 2 major aspects in our lives that should concern ourselves with children. Yeah. Women definitely concern themselves with children, and the nation should concern themselves. So I thought, something, I have to do it today. So on the back of our 63rd and on the back of Women's Day, I think you've just nailed it, that as a nation we should do something. But Doc, let me come to you. Being that there is this fund and the GMA, Ghana being so powerful, are you hitting the easy target, which is the little girl, instead of going after the state to say, look, put money in the fund, let us assess it?
And like I mentioned, I think the ultimate solution is what lawyer is suggesting, where the state takes care of this and then helps to sanitize the system and provide help for those who need help. We all have a social contract with the states, and all of us pay taxes, and the purpose of that is to support our colleagues who cannot, even ourselves, things that we cannot provide for ourselves. The state is supposed to do that for us. But the GMA did what it did on good grounds and on good purpose, and I don't think it was meant to hit as the easy target. If you ask me, like I think the police officer said, there are a lot of doctors who are signing this for free, and they would sign it, especially if it is.
And there are a lot more who won't sign it,
especially if it is defilement and like under circumstances under which we are speaking. But what we put there was not specifically at defilement. In fact, when we were looking at it, there were even concerns. The committee that looked at it thought that, look, for defilement, maybe we should just issue an administrative thing that all defilement cases should just be free. Everybody should sign it off. But the issue that came up was that we have situations where you cannot compel someone to sign the form. Okay, it is the primary duty of the doctor is to take care of you. After that signing of that form, you cannot compel the person to sign the form. If the person is in an employment where the setup is such that the person is the only doctor there, because you see, when you sign that form, there are responsibilities it brings to you. One of those responsibilities is your ability to go to court to defend that case and defend it so well so that justice is properly served. Okay, so in a situation where doctors have to travel day and night from their regular place of work to other places to go to court, at times that are sometimes off their regular working time, and time that is not protected for them, transportation is not catered for, nothing, and you have to move anytime you are called wherever to go and respond. You are going to have a situation where a lot of doctors are going to decline from signing these forms. In a place like Kolebu, when somebody comes with defilement, you will see even people and some of the hospitals where there are a lot of doctors, the first responder to the patient will usually not be the one who wants to sign, and most doctors will be shying away from it, not withstanding the whatever amount is supposed to be charged, because even the charges were supposed to be routed through the institution, and then whichever doctor attends to the patient is then giving something to compensate for this movement. But even under that circumstance, we have doctors shying away from this, because once you put pen to paper on this one, you are primarily committed. So a lot of doctors will go to, you have been defiled, you are hurt, what is your post-exposure prophylaxis? How can we protect you so that you don't get infections? How can we take care of your psychological needs? If you are bleeding, how can we sort that out? They see this justice bit as a secondary issue. It is equally important, but my point is that if we did not sanitize the system, you are going to have situations where, even in places where you have just one doctor, doctors may not want to sign the form.
Let me bring Chief Superintendent in here. I mean, anytime you guys say we should go to a state facility for notes, state facility for notes, and so if the state doctor is also saying we need time, then I'm a bit confused there.
Okay, so Nana, first and foremost, let's state the obvious. When it comes to criminal cases, it's the state versus the accused person. So even though I assault you and you are the person who actually experienced the pain, in legal terms, it is the state that you have, harmed in one way or the other. So it's the state that takes up prosecution of criminal cases. What then it means is that it's the state's responsibility to cater for costs, as a result of prosecution. In this regard, it is the state that has to provide for the government, the doctor, to move from one end to the other, and not the victim. So if doctors there's a need for doctors to go to hospital, move from one point to the other, it is the state that needs to provide that, and not the victim. So to take it from the victim is like, as you earlier on said, you look at the stronger person and a weaker person, you think, okay, this one is an easy way to go, and then you hold on. But I don't want to say it is not right, illegal, it's not legal, but honestly speaking, it is not something that should be done.
Okay.
As for taking money from victims is a non-starter. Now, when you go to court and you are subpoenaed in court, you have, anytime you go to court, you go to the registrar after court, whether court sat or whether there was proceedings or whether you gave evidence or not. Afterwards, you go to the registrar, and the registrar endorses the form, the subpoena, and then as and when, so let's say if you appear in court 3 times to give evidence, it will be endorsed at the back of the subpoena, and then at the end of the day, the court has its own processes. So the clerk will do whatever they need to do, and then the money will be, the documents will be sent to the finance section, and then that money will be paid. So if you are...
It takes long. Like we say in Ghanaian English.
It does. It does. Yes, it is true. Yes, it does take, because it's a process that you have to go through.
Yes.
But it is an avenue for a doctor to collect the money. So yes, because it's a state that is prosecuting. And if you are a doctor and you have been subpoenaed to come, it is a process to follow. So then you can then put an argument that, okay, it takes too long to receive it. So now we have an avenue for collecting the money, but it takes too long. So can the state do something about it so that it will be faster, but not for us to shift the cost to the victim?
Okay, but if I may come in briefly, Nana, when we brought out our fees, nowhere did we state specifically that this fee is supposed to be paid directly, the source or whoever is supposed to make the payment. We think that if we look on summary on the cost incurred by doctors and the time and effort that they incur for the professional services they render, which in our opinion is not part of, it's not the primary mandate initially to the patient. It is also equally important, but we think that if you look at the entire judicial process involved, this is how much a doctor's time and effort is worth. this is how that professional who is doing. And I think it's sometimes...
But the doctor is hired by the state.
And I would want to explain that a bit more. You see, sometimes we talk about the doctor being hired by the state.
So you're working on state time?
No, it's not all that is on state time. The doctor has a specified state time work period and job description that he's supposed to do. If I am a gynecologist, I'm supposed to be working in the hospital where I'm employed. I'm supposed to go there from morning to a specified time. In that contract that I have, where is it stated that if I am asked to go to a case, attend to a case at Takoradi, a case is called in court at Takoradi, I should drive myself, risk my life, go there and come back? Is that within the state time? Is that how it's been scheduled? Is that part of... Because if it is the duty of the state, as she well stated, the state should make provision for me to be there. I should be given protected time off work to go and do that and come back. To the extent that I think, you see, I'll just wrap up by saying that if we do not situate this well, we'll create a certain impression, and the whole thing comes to the doctor as the one who is not doing what he's supposed to do. But I think that the primary responsibility lies with the state. The state employs me.
That's what we are saying.
Yeah, and I like that bit. The state employs me. If the state wants me to do those services...
you were saying...
No, the point I'm making is that as to the extent that the state doesn't provide those necessities, I must provide for myself.
Yeah, but we are saying that in providing for yourself, you don't choose the
we have stated that
it is not the victim's responsibility.
So the victim doesn't come to me. The victim comes to me having been instructed by the police and given a form. If the victim returns that same information to the police, that this is what the process is going to cost me, the police that is processing that document should find funds from wherever, whether it's from this fund, from the state, or whatever means, and know that for me to prosecute this case, this is what it costs me.
We should fund funds from where? Because you see, that is why to begin with, it has always been go to the government the state hospitals. So you go to the state hospitals, they don't take money. If you go to private hospitals, that one government has no control over there, so they will charge you. So the argument is go to state hospitals. Now when you go to state hospital, you have an issue that you'll be going to court, and one of the problems that I have with this whole collection is the fact that it is not all the medical forms that you endorse that we end up going to court. In fact, there are times that you endorse a medical form, but sometimes the medical form is written in such a way that the evidence is not strong to begin with, and then there are other evidence we try to get and realize that it is weak. Sometimes we have to close it at the police station or send it to the AG's office, and then the AG's office will advise that there should be no prosecution. But the collection of the money is virtually like once you come and it's a medical form, you will take the money. Some of the cases don't end up in court.
But unfortunately, we are not able to determine.
In every profession, once the person is worked,
I understand.
Exactly.
I understand, but my point is that what they are collecting, the argument for collecting the money to go to court. So whatever
not only
it to easy.
It's a professional service. Madam, you are a lawyer.
Let me bring Martin.
Okay, let Martin come in.
Because Martin, the guy is hired by the state. So imagine he came to work today and today nobody came to work. The state won't say, well, today I'm not going to pay you because nobody came with malaria. They still get paid. So should somebody come in this situation, you can't just tell Mark and tell the state that, well, as for this particular one here, you need to pay me extra.
Nana, that's very difficult to it's very difficult to go along the line that the doctor shouldn't ask for payment. I think
from the state, but not from the victim. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, we all agree. There must be some form of payment, but it must come from the state.
So once the law is made declared that the victim should get free medical care, it's up to the state. You see, in 2018, the World Bank organized a roundtable conference on this matter, and I remember a doctor from the Ministry of Health also. She came and she said, "Oh, that can be done." So we're to do follow-ups, and then later, she was transferred from that ministry, so it became difficult. But she said, "Oh, this can be done." So Nana, look, maybe if let's say in a month's time, if we don't see anything, let's come back again. You see, let's come back again. The doctor has looked at this and said it can be done, which was where, as I said,
I think just to chip in to give you, we've been in discussion with UNICEF, and we had some informal discussion with some of your hierarchy, and there are plans in place to meet with the appropriate office, with your office, to see that this thing is dealt with. So there've been discussions ongoing.
The only thing is, as I said last year, went to using number one. Went to using number one, and it's so where it is. Yeah, but good luck. Good luck.
This is from Angela Jamna Abwaji listening. This is a very simple, straightforward policy issue, in my opinion, which can be settled between the Ministry of Gender and the Ministry of Health, involving NHIS. In the very least, an amendment to the regulations entitling doctors to charge the fees, paying them from the NHIS, substituted by the funds that's supposed to be in the DV Secretariat, and an amendment to the NHIA policy. It can be restricted. In the first instance, the child victims of sex abuse, then later to other DV and SGBV victims. If, as it says, just like policy coherence, then that makes it simple, makes it look simple. But he comes again to say the doctors doing this for free are very few. Police hospital doctors, Dr. Badu, Dr. Clayman when he was in public service, and Dr. Sechi, maybe one or two more. A combined advocacy effort with doctors in the forefront will make a big difference. The reason being, the reasons being given there. Sorry, it's not the doctor's fault, but they can do it in a more ethical way.
That's fine. I think, I welcome that submission. The whole point is that I think that is why in the first instance we agreed to participate in this. We think that we need to find a lasting solution to this. The point should not be whether somebody deserves a professional fee or not.
That's not the point. We agree you need to move to the court.
So my main point is that I think we should leave here with a call to action, and that in this country we are fan of passing laws, policies, legislative instruments that define things beautifully, but implementation becomes poor. I have mentioned it here, and I have spoken when we talked about emergency preparedness in this country. There is a law and a policy that says every accident victim, when within 24 hours in the hospital, free treatment. Truth is, if you are managing even the government facility, and there is no source of compensating for this, it is not sustainable. Anything you pass must be backed by the necessary resources. So if you have a car crash, they bring in 80 patients, you treat all of them for free with all your resources. Nobody reimburses you. Another crash comes. How are you going to take care of them? There is really nothing free. Somebody has to be prepared to fund it. And I think that we should make the clarion call on the authorities that this fund should be operational. If it means all of us combining efforts with the police, with all the coalition to go on whatever to get the states and all other agencies to contribute to the fund, I think it will be good. And I also think the policies should be streamlined well. That's why I'm saying that I agree very well with Angela's submission, because if the policy is streamlined well and it's not based on people's benevolence, but it is such that we know that every doctor, when you sign this for free, this is what is going to happen in the event that it goes to court. This is what is. Who wouldn't like to do that?
0302216541. Let's hear what you have to say. 0302216541. This one's from Dr. Badu. It says, "Caution. Why do we only do medical assessment? What of the psychological challenges? Why is the law silent on psychosocial assessment for justice process?" That's another big one. But I think Kofi is on the line. Hello, Kofi. Hello? Hello? Let's see if we can get Kofi up and hear what Kofi has to say. Hello, Kofi.
Yes, Nana, good evening.
Good evening. Let me hear you.
Yes, so thank you so much for this topic. My issue has to do with the way the policewoman is defending the issue of doctors not have to charge. I also know that the police, apart from that, I know somebody who's been defiled, and now the case is in court. And every time they go to court, the victim has to pay the policemen for their transport before the case is taken to court. So I would like to know from the policewoman whether that is law, because that's what they've been told, that is law, that they have to pay for the transport of the policemen in order for them to be able to go to court. And everything that is associated with it, they had to pay the policemen. Anything that the policemen had to do, they had to cater for their transport before they are able to do that.
Thank you very much. I think your point is well noted. Bella is in Tema. Let's hear Bella. Hello, Bella.
Yes. Hi, Nana. How are you? Hope you're fine.
I'm good.
Yes. I don't know. The lady in the studio, she's Angela, right?
No, she's Superintendent Owusuach. Chief Superintendent.
Okay, Superintendent. I think she's very astute and intelligent. Her submissions are just on point. Because, Nana, I had an incident just last week in my community whereby a very vulnerable person had to go to Michelle Military Clinic, and they told him that until you pay 350 cedis, they're not going to sign your medical report for you. When he went to the Gulf City Police Station, they were like, okay, unless the report is signed before they can continue the case. This is the case whereby the person had to look for me wherever I was, looking for funds, just to be able to pay and get justice because he was assaulted apparently and wanted to gain justice. But the question I asked myself is that, so if, let's say this case doesn't go to court, would the doctors refund the money back to the patient or not? Because for my experience, even the private hospital like Port Medical in Tema takes medical reports of 150 cedis. So why is the government institution taking as much as 350 cedis? It's too much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I have Mike in Dalsuman. Hello, Mike.
Yeah, Nana, good evening.
Good evening. Let me hear you.
Yeah, I salute you for the good program. I'm getting very much educated, and I believe so to all Ghanaians. A little bit, I think Doc indicated that we have beautiful laws and policies, but operationalization becomes a problem, especially funding. I want to say, as a former practitioner of insurance, I want to say that in the motor insurance premium, it is embedded in it road traffic accident fund that National Insurance Commission handles. Have the hospital administrators been applying to get funds to cater for patients who have been injured as a result of accidents? That the doctor was saying that they normally become handicapped financially to cater for such ones. Please, sometimes it's important we open our eyes to also see where we can access funds, not to sit back and say that it is difficult to access and all that.
Thank you very much. Richard is in La Paz, which is the last caller. Hello, Richard.
Yeah, Nana, thank you so much for the opportunity. What I am a bit baffled about is the doctor's excuse that they have to drive long distances to attend court sessions. If a case happens in a district where a doctor operates in the government district hospital, how come the court case will be tied in a very far distance? That's what I don't understand. Why there should be a court in that district for the doctor to quickly attend and come back to whatever he's doing in his government hospital.
So So these are some of the thoughts of the public, just to get an assessment of what's going out there. But the main reason for these big brains sitting behind their mics today is to say that enough is enough. If we are 63 years and if we are celebrating Women's Day, I mean, I think the least we can do before God and man is to make sure that at least if we start with the defiled child and then gradually move it on, it would all go well. But to look at a little girl and turn her away, I mean, it's sad. One of the cases I told you last week was a 9-year-old girl who's an orphan, living with a woman and a husband. Husband defined the 9-year-old girl. She reports to the teacher to Dovsu to police, 300 cedis. The only person with 300 cedis is the suspected stepfather defiling her. So what do? They stop the case and give the girl back to the family. I followed it up and I'm told some family came from Ivory Coast and took her away. But I mean, that was real. 9-year-old girl, orphan, mom dead, father dead, living with mom's friend and the husband. Husband defiles the girl. Obviously from deprived background. She manages to tell the headmistress to Dovsu to police, to hospital, 300 cedis. The only person with 300 cedis is the man that's defiling the girl. So they couldn't continue the case and they gave the girl back to them. I mean, these are real. That's why I want to say Ghana is not Accra. These are real situations. So because of 300 cedis, and I'm here, some family from Ivory Coast came. They've taken the girl. Only God knows what's going to do. But there's a message here for the lawyers. It's the lawyers, Martin and Chief Superintendent Owusua. Please carry this matter to its logical conclusion. Owusua, congratulations. And this is from lawyer Bekai.
Kofi Bekai.
So over to you, Jolati. We need to. I think in our lifetime, if we can see money in this pot, so that somebody can be saved. At least, yes, you with me, I can say one day, with me, I can say, we at least supported somebody. And so, how do you do this? So you've been to court already. So what do we do now?
And Nana, please, before you come in, I think I want to stress that in the meantime, instead of doctors taking the money from victims, in the meantime, they should access it through the court. So you are supposed to come and give evidence. And I'll give you an instant case. I was telling Senior that one of our senior police officers was called from Ashanti region in a case where he had to give evidence. And anytime he went to court, the subpoena was endorsed until he finished giving evidence. Afterwards, the check was prepared. The judiciary had to do what they had to do, and afterwards, a check was issued to him, and he was paid. So, for now, as Doctor was saying, that it takes long. Yes, it takes long, but it's the best option for now until maybe others, because between taking long and getting it from the state and taking not long, instant, and getting it from a victim, a 3-year-old child or a 9-year-old child from a very poor home who can't, I'm sure the whole family, when they bring their monies together, it will not even be up to 300 Ghana cedis. So for now, the option for us now is for court, for the doctors to go to court. When you are subpoenaed, you go to court after whether the court sat or not, whether your case was called or not, you've been to court. So you go to the registrar, then the subpoena will be endorsed. Until you finish, then they go through the process. So for now, I will urge our doctors to use that procedure whilst as stakeholders we come together and discuss issues. And now let me quickly react to what one caller said, that I am sure, baby, it's a way of to dissuade us because I'm talking about the doctors now. So he wants to chip in something about the police. Exactly.
But the person is a doctor. Oh no!
But that's just by the So Nana,
that is real.
What he said, it is an offense. It is professional misconduct. And in fact, it can even be criminal because when we term it as bribe. So if something of that sort is happening, it is not the responsibility of a suspect or a victim or a witness or whoever to transport police from one end to the other. it is not the responsibility of any of the parties. So if you are a victim, you are a suspect, and the policeman says, before I come to court, give me A, B, or C, report the person to...
No. Cancel. Hey, that one. You bring that to a halt. We are giving me, as my say. Sometimes I have to pay.
No.
Do you sense the part 2 coming up? Lawyer, all too soon. That's what time will allow us. And this man who is here with the. And this man who is here to give us the news bulletin. But for God and country, for love for children, because honestly, if we can't protect our children, then what are we living for? If we cannot protect, the deprived, we can't be that selfish. So I hope to God that the 500,000 that the president promised to start this fund with, somebody listening will tell the president that, listen, put in this fund. My name is Nana Ansah Kwao IV. I was in studio with lawyer Martin Pegbu, with Chief Superintendent Owusu Achreme, and Dr. Titus Bio. And it has been wonderful, it has been education, it has been emotional, and we hope that the person to put something in that fund, somebody called him and told him, said, Joe, because this is an election year. We always blackmail you with elections. This election year, this is one thing I'm going to blackmail the state with. Put money in that fund, otherwise major blackmail. The news bulletin is up next.